Yeah.
It's the world of Masters of Wisdom Adepts and something called the Fraternity of Light. We've got excerpts from a book on the topic and some personal notes that are mysteriously titled All Notes from 251112024.
Okay.
Our mission. To try to figure out who these masters are, what their history is, and how they might be interacting with the world today.
Well, this is a really fascinating area of study, because we're not talking about like hypothetical figures here.
Right.
This source material presents these adepts always capitalized as real individuals who've achieved a level of spiritual evolution that I think most of us can only imagine.
Okay, so not just your average wise person then.
No.
The book even uses the word divine to describe them.
Right. And it makes a distinction between simply being knowledgeable, right, and actually embodying what it calls good law, a concept that actually originates way back in Atlantis. So these adepts have apparently transcended their base instincts through intense self-mastery, achieving this profound compassion and understanding of the universe.
So it almost sounds like they evolved beyond being human, like they graduated to some higher level of existence.
Yeah, that's pretty much the idea.
Wow.
The book suggests that they reached this state in a previous evolutionary cycle. And get this, it wasn't just handed to them.
Oh, really?
They had to earn it through a difficult process of inner transformation that's actually outlined in the Hermetic doctrine.
Oh, wow.
So no shortcuts allowed.
So it's more about like applying knowledge to completely transform yourself?
Exactly.
Rather than just accumulating information.
Yeah.
Which brings us to this really intriguing concept of the Fraternity of Light.
Yeah.
It's described as this collective of adepts all working together, guiding humanity since like the dawn of time.
Since the night of time.
Wow. But that raises like a really interesting question. If they're so powerful and benevolent,
yeah,
why all the secrecy? Why not just, step in and fix everything?
Well, that's something the book addresses directly.
Okay.
Apparently, there was a time way back during the era of Atlantis when the fraternity was openly accessible.
Really?
Early Atlantis is actually depicted as this almost utopian society with abundant resources and minimal suffering.
So like a paradise lost, perhaps.
Yeah, exactly.
But if it was so idyllic, what happened?
Right.
Why did the fraternity go into hiding?
Well, the book describes this gradual shift in Atlantis where people became obsessed with material wealth and power.
Okay.
They started misusing what the book calls destructive magic, leading to this decline and ultimately the downfall of Atlantis.
Huh. It's fascinating how that pattern seems to repeat throughout history, wouldn't you say?
It is.
Societies become prosperous.
Yeah.
They lose sight of what's truly important, and then everything falls apart.
Yeah.
It definitely makes you think about the world today, doesn't it?
It does.
But where does the fraternity fit in all of this?
Yeah.
Do they just abandon humanity?
Not exactly. As humanity became more and more materialistic,
Yeah.
the fraternity was forced to withdraw, first to the mountains of Atlantis, and then after a series of cataclysmic events that destroyed the continent, they relocated to the Himalayas.
Wow.
Specifically Tibet, which the book describes as the place where they safeguard universal knowledge.
So they're like the guardians of wisdom hidden away in the highest mountains on earth.
Yeah.
But I still can't help but wonder, why the secrecy? Wouldn't it be better to just come out and guide us directly?
Well, that's a natural question, and the book actually offers several explanations.
Okay.
Firstly, it suggests that most of us are just not equipped to perceive them.
Right.
We're too focused on the material world, and we lack the subtle senses needed.
Yeah, it's like trying to explain quantum physics to a dog.
Right.
They just don't have the framework to understand it.
Exactly. But haven't there been adepts who have tried to engage with humanity in the past?
Yes, and the book mentions several examples.
Yeah.
Buddha not being accepted in his own land.
Right.
Pythagoras fleeing persecution.
Yeah.
Even the crucifixion of Jesus.
Oh, wow.
The point being, past attempts at open engagement didn't go so well.
Right.
Humanity just wasn't ready.
Okay, I see the challenge there, but if they're not, walking among us, how do they actually influence the world?
Right.
Because, let's face it, things could use a little good law right now.
Well, the book claims they haven't completely abandoned us.
Okay.
They influence us in more subtle ways. They work through inspiration.
Okay.
Think of individuals in science, art, humanitarian efforts.
Right.
Anyone pushing humanity towards positive evolution.
Yeah.
The book suggests that many breakthroughs and acts of altruism could be unknowingly inspired by these hidden masters.
So you're saying some of the greatest acts of compassion, the most brilliant scientific discoveries,
might be subtly influenced by these adepts. That's a pretty radical idea.
It certainly makes you wonder, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It also raises an interesting question about free will, but before we dive into that, the book brings up another aspect of the adepts that might seem a bit unexpected.
Okay, what's that?
Sexuality.
Okay, this should be interesting.
Yeah.
The adepts in relationships, how does that work?
Well, the book introduces this concept of non-sexuality in adepts.
Okay.
Now, before you jump to conclusions, it's not about repression or anything like that.
Right.
It's more about transcending the typical drives and desires. They've supposedly reached a level of consciousness where those primal urges no longer hold sway.
It's certainly not the way we typically think about relationships, is it?
No, it's not.
But how does that affect their interactions with others?
Well, the book clarifies that this non-sexuality allows for pure master-student relationships.
Okay.
Free from the power imbalances and complications that often come with typical relationships. In essence, they interact on a purely spiritual level.
I could see how that would be necessary for their work. But does this mean all adepts are male?
Actually, the book challenges that assumption directly.
Oh, does it?
It highlights several prominent female adepts throughout history. Dokmima, Yeshe Tsogyal, and even modern-day figures like Ma Ananda Moyi.
Wow.
It seems the choice of a male or female body depends on the adept's specific mission.
Okay.
Not their level of spiritual attainment.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
It sounds like they're operating on a completely different level than most of us.
I think so. Yeah.
But how does all of this relate to the state of the world today? I mean, with all the wars, the injustice, the environmental problems, it doesn't exactly feel like a utopia guided by hidden masters.
You're not wrong.
Yeah.
And the book acknowledges this, introducing this concept of planetary karma. Essentially, it suggests that humanity's collective actions, our choices, have led to the current state of the world.
So we're reaping what we've sown on a global scale.
In a nutshell, yes.
Wow.
And it's not just about past actions. It's about the choices we're making right now.
Right.
The book even mentions these brothers of the shadow, an opposing force to the fraternity, who manipulate human weaknesses to prevent us from evolving spiritually.
It's like a cosmic battle between light and shadow playing out on the world stage.
It is.
And we're caught right in the middle.
Yeah.
But if that's the case, what hope do we have? Can we really change course?
That's what we'll explore in the next part of our deep dive.
Okay.
The book does offer some clues, some hints about how we might navigate these challenging times and potentially even connect with the Fraternity of Light ourselves.
All right, now you've really got me hooked.
Good.
I can't wait to see what the book has to say about that.
Me too.
All right, let's take a quick break, and we'll be right back with more on the Fraternity of Light. All right, so we've established that these adepts, these masters of wisdom, are real. They're powerful.
Yeah.
And they're working behind the scenes to guide humanity.
Yeah.
But as we were just discussing, the world's still a pretty messy place.
Yeah, it is.
So how do we reconcile that with the idea of these benevolent beings subtly influencing things?
Well, the book kind of pushes back on this idea that, the world is uniquely bad right now. It actually dives into the history of suffering.
Okay.
Asking this question: when has the world ever been truly good?
That's a bit of a bleak question, isn't it?
It is.
I'm almost afraid to ask, but when?
Right. Well, the book takes us on this kind of depressing tour through human history.
Yeah.
Highlighting things like peasant revolts.
Yeah.
The Black Death.
Yeah.
Religious persecution, slavery.
Wow.
It's a stark reminder that suffering and injustice, they're not new.
It definitely challenges our modern perspective, doesn't it?
It does.
We tend to think of ourselves as so advanced.
Yeah.
But we're really just a few generations removed from some pretty dark times. And even today, those same injustices are happening in many parts of the world.
Exactly. And it's easy to forget that when we're caught up in our own little bubbles.
Right.
And that's where this idea of planetary karma comes into play.
Yeah.
The book suggests that we're all connected. Right. That our individual choices, they contribute to this collective energy of humanity. And that energy has consequences.
So if enough people are making selfish, destructive choices, it creates a kind of negative feedback loop.
Yeah.
Leading to more suffering for everyone.
That's the basic idea.
Wow.
But the book also suggests that the opposite is true.
Okay.
You know, the more people who choose love, compassion, service to others, the more we shift that energy towards something more positive.
So it's not about waiting for some external savior or a miracle to fix everything.
Right.
It's about each of us taking responsibility for our own actions and making conscious choices that contribute to a better world.
Exactly.
But how do we even begin to do that when things feel so overwhelming?
Well, remember those brothers of the shadow we talked about earlier?
Yeah.
The ones who manipulate our weaknesses?
Right.
The book argues that a big part of the solution is resisting their influence.
Okay.
It's about choosing love over fear, courage over apathy, and recognizing our interconnectedness instead of focusing on our differences.
It sounds simple enough in theory.
It does.
But it's a lot harder to put into practice, isn't it?
Yeah.
Especially when you look at the state of the world.
You're absolutely right. But the book highlights examples of how the Fraternity of Light has subtly influenced positive changes throughout history.
Okay.
For example, the Renaissance, with its emphasis on human potential and the pursuit of knowledge, is presented as a direct result of their influence.
So they're not just passive observers.
No.
They're actively working to guide us towards a better future, even if we don't always see it.
Exactly. And the book suggests this influence is still active today. It points to, the growing interest in Eastern spirituality, the increasing popularity of mindfulness and personal growth practices, even breakthroughs in fields like astrophysics as evidence of their subtle guidance.
It's really quite fascinating to consider how their influence might be playing out in our lives without us even realizing it. It makes you wonder, doesn't it?
It does.
What seemingly random event or spark of inspiration might actually be a nudge from these hidden masters. But the book also mentions something called the
Horloge Cosmique.
Horloge Cosmique.
Yeah.
Implying that time is running out for humanity to make a choice.
It does.
Can you elaborate on what that means?
Yes. Remember how we were talking about these cycles of progress and decline?
Right.
Well, the book suggests that we're nearing the end of a major cycle,
a
kind of planetary reckoning, where we face a choice. We either continue down a destructive path, or we embrace a more evolved way of being.
So it's like we're at a critical turning point in human history.
Exactly.
Right.
The book seems to be saying that those who cling to their lower nature, those who refuse to evolve, will be left behind in the next stage of human evolution.
Okay.
It's not necessarily about punishment, but it's about natural consequences.
Right.
Like, if you keep making choices that harm yourself and others, you're not going to experience the same level of growth and fulfillment as someone who chooses love and compassion.
That makes sense. It's like we're all on a journey.
Yeah.
And at some point, the path forks.
Right.
Those who choose a path aligned with their higher selves will experience one reality, while those who cling to the lower aspects of themselves will experience something very different.
Exactly.
But what about those who are trying to evolve?
Right.
Who are choosing love and compassion, but still feel overwhelmed by everything that's happening in the world?
Yeah.
What hope do they have?
That's a great question. And the book offers a message of both caution and encouragement. Okay. It acknowledges the challenges and the powerful forces that seem to be working against positive change. But it also reminds us that each act of love, each choice for good, no matter how small, it tips the scales toward a brighter future.
So it's like a ripple effect.
Yeah.
One act of kindness can inspire another and so on.
Exactly.
We may not see the full impact of our choices right away.
Right.
But the book suggests that they do matter on a cosmic scale.
They do.
So it's not about giving up or becoming apathetic.
Right.
It's about holding on to hope.
Yeah.
Believing in our potential for good. And continuing to make choices aligned with that vision.
Precisely. And remember, according to the book, we're not alone in this.
Okay.
The Fraternity of Light is working behind the scenes, supporting those who choose the path of evolution. Their influence may be subtle,
right,
but it's there for those who are open to it.
It's like they've left a trail of breadcrumbs for us to follow.
Yeah.
Guiding us towards a higher understanding of ourselves and the universe.
I like that.
But earlier we were talking about those teachings that the fraternity releases every quarter century. You mentioned that the book didn't offer any specifics about what they are.
Right.
Or how to find them.
It doesn't.
So where do we go from here?
Well, the book simply states that these teachings are released to help humanity navigate these challenging times.
Yeah.
So it's up to us to be discerning,
Right.
to follow our intuition,
Yeah.
and to be open to the signs and synchronicities that might be guiding us toward those teachings.
So it's not about passively reading books or listening to podcasts.
No.
It's about actively engaging with the material,
Yes.
questioning what resonates with us,
Mm-hmm.
and being open to new perspectives. It's almost like we're being asked to become co-creators in our own evolution.
I think that's a beautiful way to put it. And as we engage in this process of self-discovery,
Yeah.
we inevitably encounter a question that many people have about the masters of wisdom.
Okay, what's that?
If they're so powerful,
Yeah.
why don't they just step in and fix all the problems?
Right.
Why not use their power to stop wars,
Yeah.
end poverty, heal the planet?
It's a question I struggle with, to be honest.
Yeah.
It can feel frustrating, like they're watching from the sidelines while the world suffers.
I understand. It's a natural question to ask.
Yeah.
But the book offers some interesting insights into this seeming paradox.
Okay.
It suggests that direct intervention would interfere with our free will and disrupt the natural order of things. Remember, they're guiding us toward a higher state of consciousness,
Right.
not trying to create a utopia for us.
So it's more about teaching us to fish than giving us a fish.
Exactly. They're providing the tools, the knowledge, and the inspiration,
Right.
but it's ultimately up to us to use them. They're empowering us to become the solution, not solving the problems for us.
Okay, but I know you're probably thinking,
Yeah.
what about those who are actively choosing darkness?
Wow.
Those causing harm and suffering.
Yeah.
Do the adepts just let them do whatever they want?
Well, the book emphasizes the importance of karma,
Okay.
that everyone ultimately faces the consequences of their actions,
Mm.
whether in this lifetime or beyond.
Okay.
The adepts may not intervene directly to punish or reward,
Yeah.
but they trust in the inherent balance of the universe
Okay.
to ensure that justice prevails in the long run.
So it's not about revenge or punishment,
No.
but about cause and effect,
Right.
about learning from our mistakes
Yeah.
and evolving toward greater wisdom and compassion.
Exactly. And remember, even those who seem to be choosing darkness
Yeah.
are still capable of change. They may be lost, they may be making terrible choices,
Yeah.
but they're still part of that grand evolutionary journey.
Okay.
And that means there's always hope,
Right.
even for those who seem to be furthest from the light.
So no matter how bleak things may seem,
Yeah.
we can always choose to turn towards the light,
Mm-hmm.
to align ourselves with that force for good that's working behind the scenes.
Exactly.
But how do we take this knowledge,
Yes.
this understanding of the adepts and their work,
Right.
and apply it to our everyday lives?
Yeah.
It's one thing to talk about these concepts in the abstract,
Yeah. Mm.
but how do we actually connect with that wisdom and guidance in a tangible way?
That's the question, isn't it? And while the book doesn't offer like a step-by-step guide,
Yeah.
it does offer some clues.
Okay, I'm all ears. What are those clues? How can we connect with the fraternity of light?
Well, remember what we discussed earlier about choosing love over fear,
Yeah.
working for the good of humanity,
Right.
and recognizing our interconnectedness. The book suggests that these choices are key to aligning ourselves with the energy of the fraternity of light.
So it's not about rituals or chanting mantras.
No.
It's about embodying the qualities that the adepts themselves have mastered.
Exactly.
Wisdom, compassion, courage, selflessness. It's about living a life of purpose and service.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
It's about becoming beacons of light in the world,
Mhm.
radiating that energy outwards and contributing to a collective shift toward higher consciousness.
So in a sense, we're all potential adepts.
In a way.
Each of us is capable of contributing to that grand evolutionary journey.
Mm-hmm.
But what does that look like in practice?
Mm-hmm.
How do we know if we're on the right path?
Well, the book suggests that as we make those choices for good,
Yeah.
as we align ourselves with our higher selves,
Yeah.
we'll start to experience a sense of inner peace and fulfillment.
Mhm.
We'll feel more connected to something larger than ourselves. And we'll find that synchronicities and opportunities seem to align in our lives.
Okay.
It's like we're tapping into this hidden current
Yeah.
that's guiding us toward our true potential.
It's like we're being called to become more than we thought we could be.
Exactly. It's a calling that resonates deep within us,
Yeah.
a pull towards something greater,
Right.
something more meaningful than the pursuit of material wealth or or fleeting pleasures.
Right.
It's the call to awaken to our true nature, to become the change we wish to see in the world.
Well, that's a pretty daunting task, isn't it?
It is.
How do we know if we're up to the challenge?
Yeah.
How do we find the courage to answer that call?
Well, the book reminds us that we don't have to do it alone.
Okay.
The Fraternity of Light is there, working behind the scenes,
Right.
supporting those who choose the path of evolution. Their influence may be subtle, but it's there for those who are open to it.
Okay.
And as we connect with that support, as we allow ourselves to be guided by that higher wisdom, we'll find the strength and courage we need to step into our true potential.
So it's not about achieving some kind of superhuman level of perfection.
No, not at all.
It's about taking one step at a time,
Yeah,
making conscious choices, and trusting in the process.
precisely. It's about recognizing that spark of divinity within ourselves.
Yeah.
And nurturing that spark until it becomes a flame that can illuminate the world.
Okay, so we've explored the history of the Adepts,
Yeah.
their subtle influence on humanity, and the challenges that we face in a world that seemingly is dominated by darkness.
Yeah.
We've also discussed the choices that we can make to align ourselves with the forces of good
Right.
and contribute to a brighter future.
Yeah.
But as we wrap up this part of our deep dive,
Okay.
I'm left with one overarching question.
Okay.
What does this knowledge of the masters, their work,
Right.
this idea of a fraternity of light, guiding humanity towards a higher purpose, what does it all mean for us here and now?
That's the question we'll explore in the final part of our deep dive.
Okay.
We'll delve into the practical implications of this knowledge,
Right.
how it can inform our daily lives, and what it might mean for the future of humanity.
I'm looking forward to it. I have a feeling things are about to get really interesting.
Me too.
All right, we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive.
We have.
From the hidden history of Adepts and the Fraternity of Light
Right?
to this idea of planetary karma and the choices we face at this critical juncture in human history. But I think the most pressing question for me, and maybe for you listening as well, is
Right.
what does it all mean for us practically?
Right.
How do we take this knowledge and actually apply it to our lives?
It's a great question, and the source material that we've been exploring doesn't offer a simple, step-by-step guide,
Right.
but it does suggest that the path forward involves cultivating a specific kind of love, not the sentimental, romanticized love that we often see in movies,
Right.
but a love rooted in wisdom, compassion, and a deep understanding of our interconnectedness.
So less about romantic love and more about the kind of love that inspires selfless service and courageous acts of kindness.
Yeah.
The kind that allows us to see the spark of divinity in every being,
Yes.
even those who might seem very different from us.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a love that compels us to look beyond our own ego,
Yeah.
to recognize that we're all part of something much larger than ourselves. And that's where those teachings the Fraternity of Light supposedly releases every quarter century become so crucial.
Right.
They're like signposts guiding us towards that deeper understanding of love, that connection to our true nature.
Like they're whispering secrets to us, nudging us toward a higher understanding of ourselves and the universe. But they're not spoon-feeding us the answers, are they? We still have to do the work.
Yeah, we do.
To be discerning.
Yeah.
To follow our intuition. And to piece together the puzzle.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
It's not about blindly accepting what we read or hear.
Right.
It's about engaging with the material,
Okay.
questioning it, and seeing how it resonates with our own experiences.
Right.
It's about trusting our inner guidance and recognizing those aha moments that spark something deep within us.
So it's about becoming active participants in our own evolution.
Exactly.
Co-creating a future that's aligned with our highest potential.
Yeah.
But that raises another question. How do we know if we're actually connecting with those whispers of wisdom?
Right.
Those subtle nudges from the Fraternity of Light?
Yeah.
What if it's just our imagination?
Well, the book suggests that as we align ourselves with that higher energy,
Right.
as we make choices rooted in love and compassion,
Yeah.
we'll start to see those choices reflected back to us in the world around us.
Okay.
We might experience synchronicities
Yeah.
where events seem to line up in a way that feels meaningful. We might encounter people who offer guidance or support at just the right moment. And most importantly, we'll start to feel a sense of peace and purpose that wasn't there before.
It's like we're tuning into a hidden frequency.
I like that.
And as we get clearer, the signal gets stronger.
Yeah.
But what about those times when things feel dark and hopeless? When it seems like the forces of negativity are winning? How do we hold on to that sense of hope and purpose then?
Those are the times when it's most important to remember that we're not alone. The book reminds us that the Fraternity of Light is constantly working behind the scenes.
Okay.
Supporting those who choose the path of evolution.
Yeah.
Their influence may be subtle, but it's there for those who are open to it.
Right.
And that brings us back to you, dear listener.
Yeah.
What does this knowledge of the masters and their work mean for your life? Where do you see the influence of this good law in the world around you?
And the acts of kindness you witness, the moments of inspiration that lift your spirits, the challenges that push you to grow and evolve.
Perhaps those whispers of wisdom are already speaking to you, guiding you toward your own unique path.
Yeah.
The question is, are you listening? And are you willing to act on what you hear? Because ultimately it's up to each of us to choose the path we want to walk.
Right.
Will we succumb to fear, to greed, to the illusion of separation? Or will we choose to awaken to our true nature?
Right.
To embrace our interconnectedness and contribute to the evolution of consciousness itself? It's a choice we make every single day.
And the source material we've explored in this deep dive doesn't offer easy answers.
No.
It doesn't tell us what to believe or how to live our lives.
Right.
But it does offer a profound challenge.
Yeah.
An invitation to step into our power, to embrace our higher potential, and to become active participants in creating a brighter future for ourselves and for all of humanity.
A brighter future for all.
So, dear listener, what will you choose? Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of Masters of Wisdom and the Fraternity of Light.
Yeah, thanks for listening, everybody.